Hey there, everybody. I'm Erin Sherrill, Director for Career Development, and I'm super happy to have you for another edition of our featured Employer Friday series. We are here with Julissa Canas, a wonderful alum of Oglethorpe from the class of 2019, and she's representing the City of Brookhaven. And we're going to hear a little bit about a new commission that's been started with the City of Brookhaven and an internship that is now available. So I'd love to start with Julissa introducing yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, your involvement while you're at Oglethorpe, and what you've been doing since graduation, and how you came to City of Brookhaven.
Well, thank you for having me. So yeah, I graduated Oglethorpe in 2019. While I was at Oglethorpe, I was very proud to be the editor-in-chief for the Stormy Petro newspaper. That was like my baby at Ogle. I was a communications major, took a lot of classes with Dr. Shakrande and Dr. Kaib, and I got involved as an RA. I was in OLA for a while and just stuff like that. I miss my days at Oglethorpe because I think as a lot of alumni know, it's just like wonderful to be there. It's so different to be in the real world. But while at Oglethorpe, Erin hooked me up with an internship at the Decatur Book Festival, and I did that after graduation. I also did an internship with the Marietta Daily Journal, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and those really helped develop my skills so that when I applied as a part-time employee at the City of Brookhaven in a communications department, it really helped me get the job since I have become full-time. And my role is to, yes, help a lot in the communications department with press releases and our website and, being a spokesperson sometimes, but mostly it's to be a liaison to our Spanish-speaking residents, which are mostly concentrated on Beaufort Highway and make up roughly 30% of our population. So I translate materials and make sure that all of our city communication is available to them in their language and in a way that they can access it, whether it's digital or print.
That's super awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So can you tell us a little bit about the new initiative and the commission that's been created and what they hope to accomplish with this group?
Yeah, so due to the events of last summer, our city council decided that it would be good for us to have a social justice, race, and equity commission so that they could review and examine our practices and policies at Brookhaven to see places where we could improve. So it was established, I think it was September of last year, and then we went through the process of appointing a chairman, appointing members. Members applied, and they're community residents or community advocates. So, for example, we have representatives from the LAA and various organizations around Brookhaven. And so now that we are underway with the commission, which meets once a month, we want to bring in an intern that can help us kind of tell the story of the commission and the work that is being done. So this intern would, do a lot of communications related tasks, but also a lot of community engagement stuff. So for example, we are putting out a newsletter for this commission that gives the community in both English and Spanish updates of what's going on, what the commission's reviewing, what their train of thought is. And so this intern would be very helpful at helping us create content for this newsletter, for example, helping me engage community members in surveys to see what their thoughts are so that it can be incorporated into the recommendations this commission gives to our city council at the end of this year. So this internship would go through the this year till about December. So it is a long-term commitment, but it's only about 10 hours a month. And, a big perk is, not a lot of internships pay. This one will. The city passed just recently an ordinance that establishes minimum wage for city workers, which is $15 an hour, and that would apply to this intern as well. So it's a great opportunity because it is, a long-term commitment where you're going to get to learn a lot of stuff, but it's not super lengthy in the hours you need to do per month. So you could do other stuff. You don't have to just dedicate your whole time to this internship. You could do well in your classes, and you can even take another job if you want to. Even if you graduate from Oglethorpe, you can still intern here.
Yeah, it sounds like something that could be really great for a current junior, rising senior, who might even want to do some other things related to leadership on campus, or even have another internship at the same time, or part-time job. But then also for a senior, even if they're finding a full-time job after graduation, 10 hours a month is something pretty manageable that someone could do while they're working full time. And this is a really awesome way to stay connected with the Brookhaven community that they've been a part of for the last 4 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Could you talk a little bit about what things might make a student a really great candidate for this position? What kinds of skills are really key and would help somebody stand out if they were applying?
Yeah, I think a big skill is going to be writing. Are you a student who likes to write, and are you a student who, writes well? Have you taken any PR classes? That is really going to help in the internship if you have a good understanding. And I mean, you don't have to be an expert, but if you have like a base understanding of what public relations is, what's needed out of a public relations professional, and you are a pretty decent writer, that's really going to help in this internship. The other stuff we could really mentor you with, but students who have shown leadership, that is a huge plus, because I know then you're going to be a go-getter during the internship.
So speaking of the mentoring side of things, can you talk about the kinds of skills that you think a student is going to take away after interacting in this kind of internship experience?
Definitely writing. I keep saying that, but I mean, a lot of communications is writing. I think you're also going to get some public speaking skills, because even if you're not necessarily always talking to the commission as a whole, but if you were talking to residents of the community, that is a form of public speaking, even if your audience is like 5 or 10 people. You're also going to really get to understand how local government works and how communications departments work within local government, which translates to a lot of different jobs. You could apply, later on, if you wanted to be a communication specialist at a different local government or a nonprofit. And though government and nonprofit work differently, there's still some or a lot of similarities into how a communications department works within those organizations. So just having the experience of how does this work in the real world, I think is going to be very helpful.
Absolutely. So thinking about that, I'm wondering also what might be some of the challenges, or what are some of the obstacles that you think that this intern is coming in to help the commission achieve?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a challenge. I think you're going to have to learn how organizational structures work, and how, yes, there is red tape in government. So we have the commission, it has a chairman, and it has 36 members. We also have consultant that helps us with the administrative side of things. We also have the city manager, on the other hand, who oversees some stuff. And then there's the city council, who is connected but not directly connected. And then you have me, who's kind of under the city manager's wing. So I think at first you're going to have to get used to seeing how all the things are laid out, how organizations like this work, and then learning kind of the finicky rules of government. So how can we, under the Open Meetings Act, have a Zoom meeting that reaches, that is under the law? There's a lot of finicky stuff like that. And then I know I said it's a low time commitment, but I think a challenge always with students is time, because you have a lot of classes, you're applying to other jobs, you have a part-time job, you also want to have fun and everything. So, managing time is always a challenge.
That is an excellent point, and always an ongoing thing for students to learn how to manage. So I want to encourage our participants to put some questions in the chat if they have any questions, one about City of Brookhaven, or Julissa's career transition kind of history and how she got there, but also about this internship and what you might need to know if it's a good fit for you or to make yourself a great candidate to apply. So feel free to add your questions. Additionally, I did include the link to the position in the chat. You can find it in Handshake. It's officially called the Communications and Outreach Intern at the City of Brookhaven. And the job number in Handshake is 444-5863. Is there anything else you would like to add about working at the City of Brookhaven? What has been really beneficial to you in this experience?
Yeah. So while at Oglethorpe, I did not envision myself working in government at all. I was really into journalism, and I mean, I still am. I really, really value journalists and the work they do. But as I was as I was a recent grad, I was like, I'm just going to apply to jobs. Because any experience is good experience. At least that was my mindset. And I feel that so far that has been the case with me. So I saw the posting that Brookhaven had, and it was very specific to, helping the Latino community in Brookhaven. So that drew an interest in me because I was part of OLA. I am Latina. It's something, in a way personal. And I've learned a lot during the job. It's expanded a lot more than just translating documents. I've learned how to, do media strategy, do all the parts of public relations, do stuff on our website and how to manage websites and content. And so it's been very rewarding because when you get to like really make a positive impact in people's lives, it feels good, and just getting to know connections around Atlanta and, Brookhaven, just networking. It's been big on that.
Yeah, that's such an amazing opportunity with starting a new job. And especially when you get to interact with the community as a part of your responsibility, you get to meet so many people. So we do have a question from Daisy. She asks, Julissa, how smooth was your transition between internships and your current position?
It was not extremely smooth. So I think my problem was that I was like, yeah, I can take on more commitments. Yeah, I can take on more commitments. So when I graduated, did the Morita Daily Journal internship, and it overlapped with Brookhaven in a 3-week period. So at the MDJ, I did 20 hours. At Brookhaven, I was doing 25. So it was okay. I was doing 45 hours a week, and that's okay. But the MDJ hours were so different that I started getting exhausted. So when I would go into work at the MDJ, the shifts were like 2 to 8 p.m. And because, it's a daily paper, there's no days off, right? So people work on the weekend. So I would work weekend shifts. So then I wouldn't necessarily get a weekend. And so after that internship ended, I had more downtime. Then I took on the AJC internship. That one was 30 hours. And by that time at Brookhaven, I was also at 30 hours. I was working 60-hour weeks. And that went on from September to December. And by the end of it, I was extremely exhausted. So a big lesson I learned is see what your body can take. I know you may be very ambitious and you may want to do a lot of stuff, but also kind of figure out like, what can I realistically do? Can I work 40 hours? Can I work 50? Or is that pushing the envelope? So that's why it wasn't as smooth as I would have liked it to be, that transition between internships and my job, because I think I was overly ambitious, and I would caution students to, figure out what they can actually do time-wise.
That's huge. And just recognizing like your own personal physical self, right? We're always so pushed to achieve, and do and do and do, but recognizing what your own like needs are is really important along the way.
Yeah,
So we've
don't
got a
everybody.
yeah. So we have a couple more questions coming in. So Daisy's got a follow up. She asks, how has COVID affected your position? How can you represent the Latino community virtually?
Oh, it's just been like a 180 turn. So while COVID hit, my project at the time was census awareness. The 2020 census was ongoing, and we really wanted people to, fill it out. The reason for that is because based on how much people you have or how many people you have in like specific census blocks, that's how much money at the end of the day your community is going to receive. So the most underrepresented areas in Brookhaven are those with Spanish speakers. And so we know that they're undercounted, but we also know that they need the resources just like any other area does. And there's a lot of barriers. There's language barrier, fear of immigration status, distrust of the government. So how do you overcome that? So at first, we were doing in-person events. We had a committee with a bunch of partners that work on Buford Highway that could help us reach people. Then COVID hit, and we had to cancel like a festival we were having for awareness of the census. And so it took a lot of getting creative to get to people. So what I think was really effective was the Latin American Association has a big reach on social media, even though we know there's a digital gap between our English speaking residents and our Spanish speaking residents. But, still got on there, got a Facebook Live with them, trying to bring census awareness. We pushed out so much on social media. We try to get on, the regular media channels. I went on like Spanish radio, just being like, please, please, please fill out your census. So it is very difficult because you can't reach people the same way. And the most effective way to reach people is in person. So you try to do things in digital and you try to send out print newsletters, but you never just get that same connection. So it has been hard, but we've been trying to get creative and, find the alternatives.
Yeah, if that's one thing the pandemic has done for us is really pushed everyone to be really creative in all the ways they do the things they do, and to connect. So thanks for sharing that. We have another question from Kanaya. When applying, did you feel that you met all the requirements they were looking for, or were they willing to teach you the skills you did not have, and they were looking for in a candidate?
Um, so no, I did not meet every single requirement. And some of the requirements I met, I think I like barely met them. So I think a lot of the times we psych ourselves out that it's like, oh, I don't meet all the requirements of this job posting. Still go for it. Because if you meet a majority of them, there's no harm in trying, because a lot of the times jobs are willing to teach you stuff. I mean, they put that on there because they're like, we'd really like somebody that has this type of experience, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a deal breaker if you don't have it. So, I mean, experience they wanted me to have was with social media. And I was like, I mean, I did social media for the Stony Petro newspaper. And they were like, that's fine, we'll teach you more. And so they also wanted experience with InDesign and Illustrator, and I had very limited experience. I only knew a little bit of InDesign from my job at the MDJ, but they still took me in and they taught me more. You will find that jobs are very willing to teach you if they see that you meet most of the requirements and that you have a great personality, or get on the interview Zoom call at the right time. If are dressed professionally and if you put a good face forward, they're going to be like, hey, we could teach them, right? So don't psych yourself out if you don't meet all 10 of the qualifications or something like that.
Absolutely. I love your response to that. If you don't apply because you're nervous about all the requirements and not meeting them, then the answer is automatically no. Make them tell you no.
Yes, exactly.
So we'll do just last call for questions on this. And then maybe in the meantime, while people are thinking and typing, you could just share some like final thoughts on recommendations about, putting your best foot forward for this particular internship and working for local government.
Yeah. So I would say if you apply to the internship and are interested, make sure, you fill out the application all the way through. That's like a thing that sometimes people don't realize, that, double check that everything went through. Um, Also, during the interview, make sure you log in on time, make sure you smile. I think a lot of times people get very nervous and they forget to just even say, hello, how are you? And because you're just like over in your head thinking, oh, I need to say this, I need to emphasize that. Just relax, take a deep breath, be yourself. We're not here to like judge you. I know it's an interview setting, but we just want to hear from you. And, if you show or you tell us that you have interest in, government, in social justice, that's going to be a big plus. Are you interested in making things better in the community, and advancing equity? Like just that spirit is very important to this internship.
Great, thank you. So we have no additional questions. So I think that brings us to the end of our featured. Oop, we've got Daisy raising a hand.
Okay.
I can unmute you. All right, Daisy.
Hi, Julissa.
Hi.
And Aaron.
Hi. Did you want to
So
ask a question?
Just to your point about, yeah, I do have a question. Can you hear me?
Well,
Yeah.
We can hear you now.
Okay, great. So before I ask my question, Julissa, you said about being ambitious, and let me tell you, I've always known you to be ambitious. And then my actual question is, can you clarify whether it's the intern or somebody else will have to translate the newsletter into Spanish?
If you speak Spanish, that's a plus, but I will translate any materials. And even if you speak Spanish and don't feel super comfortable translating, well, I'll proofread for you everything and help you out. But you don't have to worry about speaking Spanish or translating materials. I can take care of that.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for asking that question. Awesome. Last call for questions. All right. Looks good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Julissa, and sharing a bit about your experience at the City of Brookhaven, and talking a bit about this internship, which is such an exciting new opportunity for our students to get engaged in our local city and help make a difference. So we appreciate your time, and it's great to see a Peachel.
Yeah, great to see you guys. If anybody wants to reach out to me, if you Google my name and then put City of Brookhaven, all my Brookhaven contact comes up. So you can just feel free to reach out.
And I could share your email if that's okay. I could share your email with any students that might inquire. And we may get some inquiring if they're watching the recording later. So I can be sure to share it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.